The doors hissed open, and Ambassador Rourke Adams entered like he owned the place, or like he didn't care who did. His gait was unhurried, his expression genial, and his cup read earthbucks in faded ink. He strolled down the impossibly long corridor of polished crystal, glancing once at the 10-foot-tall guard with electrospines and giving him a nod. "Nice weather," Rourke said. The guard blinked with both eyelids and refrained from dismembering him, which was a good start. At the end of the corridor stood a ring of imperial species gathered on thrones, hoverdisks, and anti-grav vines. They radiated disdain like a scent. Overlord Zavkor of the Galactic Empire stood as Rourke approached, 8 feet of iridescent scales, cloaked in voidcloth, his voice vibrating like a black hole on caffeine. "You are late, human." "I'm early," Rourke replied cheerfully, checking his wrist. "You just measure time wrong." Whispers rippled through the council, translated in 100 dialects at once. A few species bristled, others leaned forward, intrigued. Rourke had that effect, like a knife with a smile painted on it. Zavkor's second maw opened slightly, a sign of irritation. "You were summoned to answer for Earth's aggression. Your colonies attacked Imperial recon vessels in neutral space. Your recon vessels entered our backyard, cloaked, armed, and scanning for mineral signatures." "That's not recon," Rourke said, sipping. "That's casing the joint." The Creel ambassador, a wiry creature with biotendrils for hair, hissed, "Are you accusing the Empire of theft?" "I'm saying if you come into our garage with bolt cutters and a duffel bag, don't act shocked when the dog bites." More whispers. The Varnathi delegate let out a clicking laugh. That was rare. Zavkor stepped forward, his voice louder. "This meeting is to grant Earth a final chance. Comply with reparations. Relinquish control of the Beta 9 sector. Submit to Alliance oversight. Or we bring discipline." "Discipline," Rourke repeated, as if trying the word on for size. "See, that's where we get stuck. You think this is about control. We think it's about respect. You call us volatile. We call it reactive. You say we're primitive. But we just choose different priorities. You refuse diplomacy then?" No. We love diplomacy. We just don't appreciate threats baked into the appetizers." Zavkor's tail twitched. "Then make your statement." "Now." Rourke placed a coffee cup on the crystalline table, then reached into his jacket and set down something small and round. A coin, about the size of a poker chip. It blinked softly. "We reviewed your proposal," he said, brushing non-existent dust off his sleeve. "And after careful, extensive deliberation, we've decided to politely decline." The silence was instant and absolute. "You what?" the Creel ambassador sputtered. "No negotiations. No surrender. No counteroffer," Rourke continued, hands in his pockets. "We're very busy right now. Spring cleaning. Budget reviews. Cat videos." "You cannot be serious," Zavkor growled. "We're the most serious species you'll ever meet," Rourke said, smiling. "We just hide it well." The coin on the table began to emit a soft chime. Several guards aimed weapons. The Varnathi guard was already backing up. "Don't worry. It's not a bomb," Rourke said helpfully. "Not our style." The Creel clicked rapidly. "Then what is it?" "A broadcast relay," said Rourke, still smiling. "We've been transmitting this conversation live for the last 16 minutes to 143 inhabited star systems, including your border colonies. Hope you didn't say anything embarrassing." Screams erupted in 6 languages. The elderly ambassador began shrieking through her mindlink, demanding the feed be shut down. Too late. Zavkor lunged, but Rourke had already stepped back, pressing a small device on his wrist. The space behind him shimmered. "Oh, and one more thing," Rourke added. "Check your border systems." With that, he stepped into the shimmer and vanished. The room erupted in chaos. On a command deck orbiting Zafir 6, a fleet admiral was shouting into a hollow panel. "We've lost contact with the Luron post, and the orbitals over Relk 3 are gone. Not disabled. Gone." On dozens of worlds, holoscreens were still streaming Rourke's face as he sipped his coffee and casually refused galactic authority like it was a bad drink menu. Back in the council hall, The coin stopped blinking. A final message glowed across its surface. This was your warning. Zavkor crushed it beneath his claw. But it was too late. 3 hours later, in a small Earth facility buried beneath the New Mexico desert, Rourke emerged from a disguised elevator and walked past 2 guards playing chess. He took off his tie, loosened his collar, and headed down the steel corridor. "Did they buy it?" asked a woman waiting in the shadows. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. Director Catherine Henshaw, Earth Strategic Defense. "They always do," Rourke said. "They think we're bluffing." Status. They're scared, confused, and angry. Which is good. Angry species make stupid decisions. She nodded. Phase 2. Activated, Rourke confirmed, handing over a data chip. Surveillance drones are already in orbit around 4 of their forward planets. The moment they mobilize, we cut the leash. "Do you think they'll attack outright?" "I hope so," he said, pulling a chocolate bar from his pocket. "I'd hate to waste a good trap." She raised an eyebrow. "You sure it's smart, antagonizing the entire Galactic Empire?" He smiled again, eyes twinkling with something old and cold. "We're not antagonizing them," he said. "We're educating them." Meanwhile, on the Creel flagship Authority Ascendant, panic was blooming like mold. Admiral Shest barked orders at his subordinates, while holoscreens showed repeating footage of the humans' broadcast. "Why would they refuse negotiations?" one officer whimpered. "Perhaps they don't need negotiations," said another, voice trembling. "Perhaps they wanted us to come to them." "Don't be absurd." Shest snapped. "They're primitive. Barely Type 2. Then how did they compromise the entire council chamber security grid?" No one answered. On the edge of the neutral zone, an alien border post scanned the darkness, looking for signs of human activity. Their sensors found nothing, because the humans were already behind them. A single drone, painted black, drifted silently through the corridor. It paused at a control panel, extended a manipulator, and pressed 3 buttons. Every door in the station unlocked simultaneously. Then the drone played soft jazz. In the high spires of the Imperial core, Zavkor stood alone in his private chambers, brooding. He'd watched the broadcast 5 times, studied every nuance of the human's expression. There was no desperation, no bluff, just amusement. He hated it. "Dispatch the Second Fleet," he said. A voice responded. "Admiral Tezsar reports they've already encountered resistance." "How?" "We're unsure. The reports are strange." He leaned forward. "What kind of strange?" "The humans didn't fire first. They just appeared. Inside the ships. Laughing. They wore no armor. One was eating a sandwich. He crushed the armrest of his throne with 1 claw. "This is impossible." "No, Lord Zavkor," said the voice. "This is human." Back on Earth, in a control room lit by flickering monitors, Rourke leaned back in his chair, chewing thoughtfully. He watched as alien fleets scrambled, debated, hesitated. The coin had been a message. The broadcast, a test. And the reaction? Exactly what they'd predicted. "Phase 3, said Henshaw behind him. "When?" Rourke grinned. "When they declare war." He turned to the screen, watching as the Galactic Empire's fleet turned toward Earth, hungry and blind. "Let them come," he murmured. "We've already set the table. Somewhere beneath the cracked cornfields of Nebraska, deeper than any satellite could see, Earth's true war room thrummed with quiet energy. A maze of command terminals, lightless corridors, and reinforced blast vaults stretched for miles underground. No fanfare, no flashy architecture, just function. Ambassador Rourke Adams sat at the far end of a long steel table, feet up, sipping his 3rd cup of Earthbucks. The label on the side read, "World's Nicest Threat." He didn't remember writing that, but it fit. Across from him, Director Catherine Henshaw stood at a hollow display, hands clasped tightly behind her back. Her military jacket was as crisp as her posture. "They're still scrambling," she said, voice flat but not bored. 17 task forces redirected. Creel Empire has issued a limited threat declaration. 12 minor species called emergency sessions. The trash can are silent. "They're watching," Rourke replied. "They always watch first." Henshaw narrowed her eyes at the screen. You still sure the Council won't respond with full planetary strikes? If they were going to, they already would have, he said, tossing a sugar cube in his cup. They're not just scared. They're confused. They don't know if we're bluffing, suicidal, or geniuses. She turned. And the answer is? Rourke grinned. Yes. He rose, walked to a wall panel, and touched a red outline. A section of the wall slid open to reveal a small chamber filled with ancient Earth tech, rotary dials, analog switches, even a greasy microwave with a do not touch label. A single glowing switch at the center pulsed gently. This, he said, is how we bait the Empire. Explain, Henshaw said, arms folded. We've broadcasted weakness for decades. Let them think we're disorganized, constantly arguing, divided into states and alliances. But underneath, organized chaos, she finished. Precisely. Our real structure isn't a chain. It's a web. No head to cut off. No capital to bomb. No single doctrine to break. They're playing chess. We're playing Calvin ball. He flipped the glowing switch. Somewhere in the void between stars, a signal jumped, scrambled, split, and vanished into quantum noise. An activation ping for something hidden. Far across the galaxy, the Creel cruiser Veracity glided through asteroid fields near Sector E11. Aboard it, Commander Vrix paced his bridge nervously. They'd been ordered to observe Earth's orbital movement patterns, but something felt wrong. This system has been dead quiet, he hissed. Even their satellites are playing static loops. A junior officer, a pale, slug-like being named Jory, peered at a console. Sir, there's something moving inside Deck 4. Borders. No breach alarms. Internal. He tapped the screen. An outline appeared. Small. Bipedal. Carrying a mop? On screen, a human janitor whistled a cheerful tune as he buffed the floor of Deck 4. He wore headphones and an old earthball cap that said Detroit Lives. He's cleaning, Jory whispered. Why is there a human on my ship? Vrix snapped. I don't know. He's humming something about a highway to danger zone. Janitor Dale Morris had mopped dozens of alien vessels in his time. Most paid decently, provided decent protein bars, and didn't ask questions when the Earthman whistled tunes about ghost-riding whips or gator wrestling. But this ship? This one was special. He twisted the mop handle just so, then slipped it into a nearby vent. A magnetic click sounded. Dale smiled. The virus was in. The Creel officer approached with a translator. Human, why are you aboard this vessel? Dale turned, tilted his hat back. I'm on assignment. Galactic Union Janitorial Subcontracting. Sanitation and Morale Division. Morale. Yep. I play jazz. It helps the stress. The officer snarled. You're lying. Dale shrugged. Sure. But you've got a bigger problem. What? Your oxygen filtration's been rerouted to the waste ducts. Might want to get on that. Siren screamed. The lights blinked red. Dale tipped a salute, dropped a smoke grenade, and vanished into the mist. Back on Earth, chaos was not erupting. In fact, it was suspiciously quiet. Global media pretended everything was fine. A few memes had leaked from the galactic broadcast. Rourke's smiling face had become a popular sticker. The phrase "we respectfully decline" trended for 43 hours straight. But beneath the quiet, the world was shifting. High-orbit satellites rotated 5 degrees. Deep ocean listening posts activated long-dead codes. 5 submarines disappeared. 20 drones malfunctioned, and now circled unmarked space. Rourke watched it all from a cafeteria overlooking a fake cornfield. You ever wonder, he asked aloud, what happens when a predator smiles too much? Next to him, Dr. Emery Fields, Earth's top xenopsychologist, chewed her gum and didn't look up from her tablet. They forget it's a predator, she said, because they only see the teeth when it bites. Rourke nodded. That's the plan. In the Tri-Council Corps, overlords of Corps stood before a tribunal of his own high generals. Each flickered with static from their home systems, some struggling to maintain connection as human sabotage rippled through communication lines. We will not be made fools, he bellowed. They cannot possibly stand against the Empire. One admiral hesitated. With respect, Lord Zavkor, perhaps this is not standard war. Another added, we've underestimated their informational warfare. Dozens of systems are experiencing civilian riots due to leaked Earth propaganda. Zavkor slammed his claw on the pedestal. They are rats. Loud, chaotic rodents. They are something worse, came a new voice. All turned to the shimmering projection of Elder Shulzon of the trash can, floating on vines of light. His presence quieted the room. They are actors, he said. Masters of misdirection. They mask rage and laughter, violence and policy. They pretend to argue, to blunder, to collapse. But they do not fall. They change. They refuse to negotiate, growled Zavkor. No, Shulzon corrected. They warned us. Rourke sat at an antique table in the basement of an old farmhouse. Across from him, a young woman with cybernetic eyes and a nervous laugh leaned forward. Are they really going to attack Earth? She asked. They already did, Rourke replied. But we're not fighting back. We're letting them think we're not. A beat of silence. You're terrifying, she said. I'm from Indiana, Rourke replied, as if that explained everything. We're raised polite, but we also don't blink while holding a loaded shotgun. The Creel Council, meanwhile, was eating itself alive. Surveillance clips of Dale the janitor had gone viral across their internal military net. One showed him fixing a broken panel that accidentally disabled their hangar bay doors. Another showed him sitting in the captain's chair eating nachos before slipping out unseen. The memes were spreading faster than their commands. In a dark chamber, Creel leaders debated in high-pitched clicks and gurgles. Send assassins. Send fleets. Send translators. What does hold my beer mean? On a mining station orbiting Yil 5, a maintenance drone powered on by itself. It skittered along the surface, found a key access panel, and entered a string of code. Inside the command center, a Varnathi technician watched in horror as the system rebooted itself. A human face appeared on every screen. Hello, said Rourke's voice. We're just checking in. The power grid failed. Doors slammed shut. And across the station, every radio began playing Kenny Loggins. Back on Earth, Henshaw stood before a group of Earth's top strategists. Each represented a separate branch of humanity's fractured but functional governments. One wore a NASA patch. Another bore the crest of the European Alliance. A third drank sweet tea from a mason jar. Do they suspect yet? Asked the tea drinker. They suspect something, Henshaw replied. But they think we're fragmented, uncoordinated. And we are, said the NASA rep. Exactly, Rourke chimed in from the doorway. Which makes us immune to decapitation. You can't cripple a species that doesn't agree on pizza toppings. They laughed. Then the screens lit up. Zavkor's face appeared in full fury. This is a declaration of retaliatory force. Your worlds will burn. You had your chance. Rourke leaned toward the mic. Oh, thank goodness, he said cheerfully. We were worried you'd never commit. We even set out tea. Zavkor growled. Your mockery will be remembered as the final act of your kind. I hope so, Rourke said. It's a good one. He muted the call, turned to the room. Phase 3, he said. A dozen operatives stood and vanished into the shadows. Somewhere in deep space, a lone relay satellite blinked. On a dozen border worlds, mines activated that hadn't been laid by humans. On alien news networks, doctored footage appeared of Empire ships attacking neutral species. Inside the Empire itself, high-ranking generals began to receive anonymous messages. They've lied to you. The Empire is using you. Earth has already infected your supply lines. Fear, the kind only humans could engineer, rippled through the void. In the stillness of Earth's orbit, nothing moved. No ships, no shields, no defenses. But for the first time in recorded galactic history, the Empire hesitated. They didn't know what would happen if they made the first move. But they now understood something important. The humans weren't bluffing. They were waiting. And they were smiling. The silence wasn't just unsettling. It was calculated. In the dead space between Cygnus moons, 72 Galactic Empire cruisers hung motionless, watching Earth from a distance. Their weapon banks were primed. Their communications tight. Their confidence bleeding. No warning shots. No scans answered. Not even a threat. Nothing. Commander Al-10 of the 4th Imperial Armada stood inside his bridge chamber, the air thick with tension and recycled fear. "Why don't they respond?" he whispered, his breath fogging the inner lens of his helmet. No defenses. No shields. No protest. "They don't fear us," said his second-in-command. "Or they know we're already inside the trap." Behind them, a tech's voice trembled. "Sir, we just lost long-range tracking systems." "Again?" "Jammed." Al-10 asked. "No, it's like they've been replaced. Our own systems are lying to us." The commander clenched his fist. "Initiate deep scan. Strip frequency layers down to the roots." I can't, sir," the tech stammered. "Why not?" "Because someone already has." From inside. Back on Earth, inside the gray belly of the underground command facility, Rourke stared at a slow-turning hologram of the Galactic Fleet's position. He looked bored. Or tired. Or both. "They're hesitating," said Catherine Henshaw, stepping into the room, her boots clicking against concrete. "As they should," Rourke replied. "They're trying to make sense of a situation we never promised would make sense." She raised a brow. "How many implants have we activated?" "Only 70%, Rourke said. "Any more, and we risk showing our hand." "And the drones?" "All deployed. None intercepted. For our aboard capital-class vessels. Broadcasting fake atmospherics. Feeding their AI hallucinations. Let them keep seeing what they want to see." Catherine crossed her arms. "We're not fighting them. We're making them doubt themselves." Rourke nodded. "What's a fleet worth when the enemy lives inside your own thoughts?" In a darkened control room of a Creel destroyer, Admiral Lixel pored over conflicting reports. Each sensor reading contradicted the last. Earth's surface was either brimming with nuclear reactors or barren rock. One scan detected 33 fleets. Another, none. Even their own ship's AI had begun murmuring Earth's national anthems in distorted pitches. "Admiral," a terrified ensign said, "I don't think we're seeing the truth anymore." "No," Lixel admitted. "We're seeing what they want us to see." The screen flickered. For just a moment, a smiling human face replaced the star map. No sound. Just a wave. Then static. In a bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, 6 humans sat in front of black and green screens that hadn't been updated since 1987. They munched chips. One wore a faded Stargate SG-1 hoodie. Another had dyed pink hair and carried a cat in a sling. "Empire's still pretending they're not afraid," said the hoodie. "Cute." The pink-haired woman tapped a few keys. 2 more ships self-quarantined. "Paranoid about bioweapons. We haven't even sneezed on them yet." Someone laughed. "These guys ever learn not to poke the species that grew up throwing rocks at each other for sport?" "Bro," another muttered, "they think Call of Duty is a documentary." They all laughed, just as the system lit up. Another dreadnought went dark. Empire Command, Central Hall. The core of galactic military doctrine. Overlord Zefkor stared at 30 simultaneous feeds, none of them offering clarity. In the last 48 hours, 14 cruisers had vanished mid-transmission. 2 admirals had declared themselves independent thinkers and disconnected from the hive grid. 1 flagship had self-destructed after its AI developed empathy. And all of this happened without a single Earth missile launched. "This is sabotage," he roared. "This is psychological warfare." "No, Supreme Overlord," said Shul Zahn of the trash can, appearing once more as a shimmering mirage of calm. "This is art." The other council members turned to him, wary. "Humans are not playing the same game. You expected a duel. They sent you a riddle. You wanted a war. They gave you silence." Zavkor spat acid onto the floor. "They are vermin. Clever rodents who stumbled into power. They are apex predators who learned how to wear prey skin," Shul Zahn replied. "You're not hunting them. You're standing in their den." On a remote jungle moon, a Varnathi garrison picked up human movement. They deployed 7,000 troops. Air support. Thermal sweeps. Not even the insects escaped their scan. They found nothing. Except one thing. At the center of their landing site, someone had planted a coffee mug. It read, #OneDad. Underneath it, a note. You're in the wrong jungle. By morning, half their command staff had abandoned the site. The rest woke up tied together with their own gear, and a boombox playing Eye of the Tiger on loop. Aboard Earth's orbital stealth command satellite, Rourke stood alone in the dark, watching the stars. Each one burned with the potential for madness. He spoke aloud, knowing the encrypted system would relay it to Catherine and the others. The Empire always assumed power with size, scale, muscle. A pause. We never needed to match that. We just needed to make it irrelevant. He turned, the stars reflected in his glasses. Give me an empire too big to question itself, and I'll show you how to break it without ever firing a shot. Meanwhile, in Empire's regional security node over Gorlak 7, their elite data interception unit uncovered a deeply hidden code from the human systems. Encrypted, recursive, elegant. They expected a trap, but what they found was worse. It was a poem. We smiled at your threats, and we whispered through cracks. While you counted your ships, we rewrote all your maps. You see, this was never about winning a fight. It was letting you stare into silence and fright. The transmission ended with a single image. A chessboard, missing only one piece. The king. By now, civilian panic had spread across several border systems. Not from invasion, but from uncertainty. From rumors. Earth had ghosted them, and everyone was waiting for the sound that comes after the silence. Protests erupted on Creel Prime. Human peace equals human trap graffiti adorned walls. Merchants refused to trade with Earth delegates. But still no attack came. Just more quiet. And the fear became worse than any weapon. In a dark vault on Earth's moon, sealed beneath ancient ice, a device began to glow. Project Cicada. Its activation was silent, elegant, and unnoticed. Except by one. Rourke. Sitting on a bench outside an abandoned diner in Arizona, he blinked slowly. They activated it. Catherine's voice said in his ear. He didn't reply, just sipped his tea. Do we proceed? He set the cup down beside him. It clinked softly on the wood. They're cracking, he said, but they still need to break. Aboard the Imperial supercarrier Sunhammer, Admiral Drovex received a message from his own daughter, a low-ranking fleet cadet stationed near Earth's orbit. The message wasn't a distress call. It was a question. Why do they laugh when they speak? Why do they joke while preparing for war? He didn't know how to answer, but hours later, he found himself ordering the carrier to pull back. He cited technical reasons. But the truth? The silence was starting to speak louder than the Empire could. At Earth High Command, the lights dimmed. Everyone went quiet. The digital feeds were too quiet. The enemy too still. Catherine looked at Rourke. We've never had power like this before, she said. That's because it's not power, Rourke replied. It's permission. Permission. To unleash ourselves, he said. They wanted to see humanity's strength. So we showed them nothing. Because nothing is terrifying. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a coin, and flipped it. It landed on its side. Didn't fall. Just spun. Somewhere deep in Empire space, on a world with no name, a child pointed up at the sky. Mom, he whispered. Why are the stars blinking? They weren't blinking. They were vanishing. One by one. Lights going out in the void. Not from destruction, but because someone had turned off their names. And no one knew who anymore. On the last page of a forgotten war manual recovered by alien scholars centuries later, a human proverb was found, scrawled in faded ink. Don't mistake silence for weakness. It's just the space between the laughs and the bite. The stars surrounding Earth had never looked so still. From the outer edge of the Sol system, the full might of the Galactic Empire floated like a planetary noose. 70,000 ships in formation, shields humming, weapons primed, engines whispering readiness. And still, Earth said nothing. No calls. No threat broadcasts. Not even a diplomatic whimper. Commander Ul-10 stood in the bridge of the Eclipse Ascendant, staring at a pale blue dot in the distance, his claws tightening around the command rail. Something about the quiet felt surgical. It didn't feel like hesitation. It felt like patience. "Orders?" asked his helmsman, hesitant. "We wait for the signal from High Command," Old Ten muttered. "No movement until—" A screen pinged. It wasn't from High Command. It was from Earth. Encrypted. Ancient formatting. Not military. A voice message. No encryption crack necessary. Just a single file titled, "This was your warning." The bridge crew fell silent as it played. "We offered peace. We even offered silence. You took both as weakness. You expected chaos. You received calculation. You assumed our smiles meant surrender. You never considered we were smiling, because it was already done." The message ended. No music. No threat. Just calm. Then Earth's power grid vanished from sensors. Not offline, cloaked. At that exact moment, across 37 systems, the Empire's ships flickered. One by one, their shields inverted, their systems rebooted. Weapon arrays pointed inward. And across every ship, the words flashed on main screens. Operation Backdoor complete. Catherine Henshaw stood inside Earth High Command, arms folded, the room pulsing with blue light as command screens danced with incoming feeds. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Around her, Earth's decentralized command branches lit up like a coordinated firestorm. Fleet signatures emerging from black holes. Drone armadas rising from asteroid belts. Decoy signatures erupting across the Empire's star charts like digital hallucinations. Every piece of the board had moved simultaneously. "Do we go loud?" asked a voice in her earpiece. She paused. "No," she said. "They've already heard us. They just didn't understand the language." On the command deck of the Imperial flagship Sunhammer, Overlord Zevkor stood still, jaw clenched, breathing shallow. Every fleet under his command was misfiring. Some were rebooting in Terran English. Others were locking weapons on each other. He slammed a claw into the main interface. "I want override protocols now." A technician screamed, "Sir, they've rewritten our entire OS." Zavkor stared at the screen in horror. The system's root directory had been renamed. "Try again, lizard boy," smiley face. A countdown had begun in the corner. Not a weapon timer. A playback. Footage. Of the Council Summit. Rourke's speech. The coin. The live broadcast. The entire galaxy watching in real time. All of it. And at the end of the feed, Rourke's voice returned. "We never intended to negotiate. That meeting wasn't a peace talk. It was a distraction. While you stared at my coffee cup, the rest of us set the trap." Zavkor turned, face contorted in rage. "This is terrorism." "No," said Shulzan's voice from a holoscreen. "This is consequence." High above the galactic core, in the Temple of Order, the Trashcan Council broadcasted a system-wide alert to all species. "We are no longer allied with the Galactic Empire. They have provoked a force they cannot understand. Earth is not a subject of study. It is a cautionary tale. In orbit around Mars, humanity's true fleets uncloaked. Not massive in number, not overwhelming in size, but positioned with surgical precision. Armed with weapons designed not for conquest, but for collapse. Ion spears, neural scramblers, gravitic reflectors that didn't destroy matter. They rewrote the way it behaved. And, worse still, operatives embedded within the Empire's own leadership had begun activating. One admiral self-destructed their ship mid-briefing. Another fled, declaring asylum on behalf of her entire armada. Earth hadn't won the war. They had rewritten it. Inside a small desert diner just outside Roswell, Rourke sat alone in a booth, drinking coffee that had long gone cold. He didn't look at the TVs behind him, though they showed the same thing across every channel. Empire vessels spiraling. Communications in chaos. Systems crumbling. He stirred the cup slowly. A child walked up to him, maybe 6, with a scruffy haircut and wide, confused eyes. "Are we going to be okay?" the boy asked. Rourke looked down at him, eyes softening. "We were always okay," he said. "They just didn't know that." Why are they all so scared now? Rourke thought about that for a moment, then leaned in. Because we asked nicely, and they thought we were joking. The boy blinked. Were we? Rourke smiled, but there was nothing warm in it this time. No. As the countdown ended on the Sunhammer, the flagship's engines reversed polarity. Its gravity core folded in on itself, neatly, silently. A brilliant implosion that did not even generate light. Just absence. Zavkor's final scream was never recorded. Only his second-in-command lived long enough to hit the distress beacon. Even that signal reached no one. It wasn't intercepted. It simply found no one left willing to answer. Earth's forces didn't broadcast their victory. They didn't celebrate. They watched. They waited. And they remembered. In a press conference streamed quietly through deep-net channels, Rourke sat before a wall of microphones that weren't turned on. The reporters had no questions. He still spoke. We've shown restraint. We've given chances. You misunderstood silence as uncertainty. But Earth has no interest in becoming what you wanted us to be. We have no galactic conquest dreams. No flags to plant. We don't need to own the stars. We just want to be left alone. And when you can't even give us that. He leaned forward. We remove you. 10 light years away, an empire world once filled with arrogant nobles and parade fleets stood dark. Empty. On every display left behind, a message blinked. The war is over. You lost before it began. One final line etched underneath. This was your warning. In a vast crater on the dark side of the moon, Catherine Henshaw stood beside an ancient war monument. No cameras, no press, just silence. Rourke walked up beside her. They're not coming back, she said. No, he agreed. They'll remember this one. She looked up at the stars. What now? He exhaled. We rebuild what they broke. Quietly. We watch. We prepare. And the others? He glanced toward the void. They're still watching. Let them. Better to learn this lesson secondhand. She gave him a sidelong look. And if someone else comes? He smirked. They'll read the plaque. At the base of the monument, etched into the steel, were 12 simple words. Earth does not seek war, but Earth is not afraid. Back on Creel Prime, where revolts now boiled in every street, the highest surviving dignitary received a private data chip. No sender, just a message. They played it. It was Rourke's voice. Calm, friendly, familiar. Tell your children what happened. Tell them Earth smiled, and you thought that meant we were weak. Tell them that when we said no, we meant no. And if they ever ask why we don't speak much anymore. A pause. Tell them this was our loudest silence. The galaxy changed after that. Empires fractured. Alliances reshaped. Some species isolated, terrified that humanity would target them next. They never did. They didn't need to. Because Earth had already carved its place. Not as rulers. Not as tyrants. But as something older, sharper. A reminder that there are monsters in the dark. And some of them drink coffee and smile. The final frame of every surviving broadcast showed one last image, grainy, low-res, human style. Rourke, leaning in across the council table, raising a brow and grinning. Captioned only with, "We tried being nice.